I'm going to talk a little bit about some alternative funding for libraries. Some of the topics I'm going to talk about I probably have mentioned before, but I'm going to present them in a slightly different format and talk about a few other things. So let's get started. Now, as we talk about funding for public libraries, the standard methodology in Michigan, other states may vary, but primarily there are operational funds for libraries. Some libraries are city or municipalities, and they do an appropriation where some form of government provides funding for the library's operation. Operation being books on the shelf and staffing and paying the general bills such as lighting, electricity, heating, etc. So in some cases, the municipality pays an appropriation. The director of the library often goes to the municipality and says that we need this much money to operate the library, and it is up to that city or whatever to be able to provide the funding for that operation. Another very common one is a millage. A millage is done from the district's taxes. Generally speaking, it is the winter taxes, and there is a vote that was passed by the populace. The library goes forth and says that we need this much money to operate. Millage of say 1%, or 1 mil, or 0.9 mils, or 1.4 mils, whatever it happens to be that they need. They go and for a vote. There is a little bit of interesting aspects about a millage I will mention. One is you cannot do a millage that is greater than 1.4, half a mil greater than what you had prior without having to do more than one millage ballot. There's various rules. The library cannot promote a millage in the sense of promoting the millage. They can talk about what they would use the millage monies for, but it is up to getting a independent, citizens-based support for them to have to go and say that it's a positive millage and promote it, saying vote yes for the library. That cannot be coming from the library as much as it has to come from a citizens group. Now, the state constitution in Michigan sets away penal fines for libraries. That is, whatever somebody gets a ticket for something, a portion of that money can be a penal fine, and penal fines should go to the libraries. And then the other aspect, of course, is state aid. The governor puts aside money for libraries, and in Michigan, the Library of Michigan, the state library, distributes those funds fairly, usually based on per capita, how many citizens in the community will get so many cents per capita. And so a library that supports more citizens will get a larger percentage of the state aid than a library that supports fewer citizens. So basically, funding for public libraries as a normal operation would be an appropriation from a community, a millage, penal fines, and state aid. Now, generally speaking, millage, penal fines, and state aid is utilized for the operation funds. Now, operational funds could be things like repairing heating and electric if you need to, and various things. However, you can actually have a millage that is called a bond millage, and that can be a vote for specific reasons, such as the repair of a roof or the building of a new library. if you go for a bond millage, you're going for a millage that says what the money is to be used for. Operational monies is all things lawful that a library can do. In other words, the library can do anything lawful. You can repair the parking space, you can repair the building, you can repair anything, but it's also the same funds that would be used to buy books and to pay for staff. So a bond millage usually specifically states what the money is to be used for. Now in Michigan, probably in many other states, operation millages generally pass. Bond millages frequently will fail. So if we look at the records of millages, generally speaking, you'll see an operation millage passes and a bond millage can fail as much as it passes. Now there are alternative methodologies of getting funds, and this is the one I want to really talk about. One, for example, is grants. The IMLS, Institute of Museums and Library Services, provides grants, but then there are grants gotten from community organizations, private organizations, and such. Grants are usually given for a very specific purpose. Microfilming, for example. Equipment for specific purposes. I did a grant one time to a community regional foundation in order to buy teaching computers. So when you do a grant, you are specifically aiming to get something accomplished. Grants are a very good way of funding a library for something very specific. And generally speaking, you look at the granting agency and you approach it in a fashion for something specific. Once you built a grant policy, if the grant fails, you can go again for another agency for the same thing. Good example, my library has a story walk. First, the children's librarian attempted the Community Regional Foundation, and it failed, which was kind of surprising for her because she's often done community foundations before and been very successful, but this one happened to fail. Then she tried another avenue, and it too failed. Finally, it was one of the friends of the library did a presentation to a group that was looking at 3 different programs. Not one for the library, one for an animal shelter, and another one. The libraries passed. They gave money for the library to be able to do its story walk. So, with the money from that organization and with assistance from a scout working on the Eagle Project, the story walk was accomplished. Once again, attempt a grant. If it fails, be able to go and try something else as well. Eventually, you'll be successful for the project you're attempting to accomplish, but you may have to try a couple of avenues to get it. Grants are very useful for funding specific purposes. Another organization that is very handy for a library to have is a Friends group, or Friends of the Library. It's an organization which consists of people who are in favor of the library, and they raise money through book sales as a common methodology or other means. When the organization, the Friends of the Library, raises funds for the library staff will ask the Friends for assistance with specific goals for which the Friends will provide funds. It can be equipment, furnishings, care for the interior, the exterior of the library. The Friends group does a lot for the library. Friends group is a very handy organization to have, and a strong Friends group just means that many people will make their jobs a little bit lighter and get things accomplished. My friends group has individuals, for example, who take our recycling to the recycling center. The friends group provides equipment for the library. The friends group pays for the reading t-shirts the library gets. The friends group is handy for a library because the library, generally speaking, in most cases, is not a 401c3 charitable organization. And the friends group generally is a 401c3, which means that individuals who want to give money as a charitable to a charitable organization will often give money to the friends group because the friends are a 401c3. And while they raise funds, the library receives funding from the friends in the form of materials in kind. In other words, we don't generally get cash directly from the friends, but we will get equipment. We will get things that allow the library to do what it needs to do from the friends. Another good idea for fundraising is to do things to gather funds for the library. Often these things are done in conjunction with or by the friends. I have seen, for example, libraries do wine and cheese parties in the library with a variety of auctions and programs designed to bring people in the library, make them comfortable and willing to purchase the things being auctioned off or to make gifts. Wine and cheese parties, you often need to, for example, having alcohol in the library, you will need to approach the state, often who gives you licensing, and while you may have to pay some money up front for the catering and to be able to have the insurance and the legal restrictions in the library to have wine, it often pays off much, much more with the things that you're able to do from having a wine and cheese party. I'm curious, does anybody have any other good ideas that you've done in your library or know of? It is a very good idea to have aspects in the library that are very useful. Thank you very much.